various attempts at treatment, I began losing my fear of what was happening and started feeling a deep sense of awe at what the human mind could create in an emergency. When she was a little girl, trying to avoid having to endure more awful abuse than she could handle, she split off and created someone new. It was an advanced form of self-hypnosis. Soon the splitting and inventing happened again and again, and when the brain got good at it, it did it for even minor crises. For a multiple, that's when it gets out of control, and in an adult becomes a disorder. What was originally an achievement of survival ends up being a frightening problem. Fortunately for our family, this human miracle of survival is back in the game of life. She's a living example of the hero's journey. Her life shows us that the trip to happiness can go on no matter what the circumstances. It's also a little funny to me, someone in a workshop comes up and insists that people can't change who they are. If they only knew. Multiple personalities are among the most dramatic examples of how powerful we humans really are. We can be anybody we want to be. We invent ourselves as we go, we just don't know it. If I hand you a baby, what happens to you? Your voice changes, your face changes, your vocabulary changes right before my eyes in a way that's almost too weird to witness. Your face turns to rubber, you start cooing and talking in a tiny voice. Have you ever changed? If you can do it in small ways, you can do it in big ways. So who do you really want to be? Keep in mind that you are many people. You can be whoever you want to be with practice. Inside you are still more astonishing human creations waiting to be made up. Personality freezes us in a safe and secure pattern of being that we probably finished creating somewhere in junior high school. Most of our permanent personality was shaped from fear. Fear of embarrassment, fear of losing face, fear of appearing uncool. Grown-ups have a fear of appearing false or phony. But to expand who you are and be someone stronger and more alive than you were yesterday is not being false. It's being true. It's being true to your potential and true to your spirit. Your spirit wants to fly. It doesn't want to die inside a lonely prison cell that you've called your permanent final self. Realize that who you are won't always work for the challenge at hand. Celebrate that. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's good news, because you now get to create someone who will be up to the occasion. If we begin to see the power in what people with multiple personalities can do, it can be an inspiration to us instead of just something to shake our heads at. When you start relaxing the grip you have on your permanent personality and see that you can be anyone, who you want to be will become a more important person than who you are. That moment in your life will be a big one. To break through the myth of human personality is to achieve real joy. And it's something we can all do when we start to realize how much control we have over who we are. Lives of soaring action are described by action words. And it was Buckminster Fuller who first observed, "I seem to be a verb." And in that one powerful observation, he expressed a valuable secret of human potential. Owners of the spirit know that they're verbs, pure action words. Victims remain convinced that they're nouns, things, permanent personalities. But personality is merely an illusion. We can change it at will. For example, it's a different me that goes to answer the door when my children say, "Dad, some guy from the IRS is here to talk to you," than if they were to come in and say, "Dad, a woman named Meg Ryan is here to see you." It's a different me, because what the victim calls personality is just a history of habits. The extensive work done by Dr. Martin Seligman on learned optimism spanned 20 years, and he studied more than 500,000 children and adults. He found and scientifically confirmed two things. One, optimism makes you more effective at whatever you do. And two, optimism can be learned. The findings confirmed the work of many other great contemporary psychologists who have put to death all the old superstitions revolving around the fear, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. The truth is, you can, and some pretty surprising tricks at that. People who have figured out how to access and own this optimistic spirit soon become less interested in their personalities than they are in their goals and commitments. They love creating commitments and keeping them. They see them as the basic building blocks of a happy life. People who have not connected to this spirit don't have much interest in commitments, but instead retain an exaggerated fascination with their own personalities. An owner will reinvent his personality in order to keep a commitment. A victim will break any commitment in order to keep his personality. When victims discuss commitment, they refer to it as a feeling that comes and goes, as in, I don't feel as committed to this person as I used to. They'll say, I gotta be me, especially when you point out that they didn't do what they said they would do, which is a commitment. The misplaced loyalty we give to our personalities causes us tremendous misery and confusion throughout our lives. If you tell yourself you have a final personality, you limit your range of action. When you label yourself as shy or lazy or cowardly, you shut down your ability to make a magnificent gesture. You rule out being great. You weave a cocoon for yourself to live inside. You might pray for some circumstance to break you free, but the problem is that you simply don't understand where the power is. The spirit is not out there. It's in you. Owners see problems as bodybuilders see weight, more resistance to build the self with. Victims don't want to lift that weight. They look at weights with horror, and they look at problems as betrayals. The tragedy is that the same energy that could be going into problem solving is used by the victim for problem avoidance. It takes an ongoing mental effort to push problems out of the mind. It's real work to constantly redirect the spotlight of consciousness away from life so that it shines only on trivia. The Brazilian anthropologist and author Carlos Castaneda said, "We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same." It's almost as if the victim's life's work is to avoid things, and by avoiding things they make themselves miserable. It's not the unfinished tasks that make them miserable as they think. It's their own deliberate act of avoidance that lowers their self-esteem and ruins their self-respect. The first thing victims believe must be avoided is embarrassment. What would people think is the automatic question that pops into their minds before considering any action. The habit of avoiding embarrassment and the accompanying chronic worry about other people's judgments usually begins in junior high school and then never leaves. That means that most people form their permanent personalities in junior high school. But do we do it knowingly? Usually not. Who would knowingly choose a personality designed by a teenager? The first step on the way out is to see how we got there. We need to find the courage to know who we are and just how thin that mask really is. People who are stuck inside a personality don't realize that they have a stronger self deeper inside. They're so hypnotized by who they are, they don't know who they can be. Our country has evolved from an enthusiastic work ethic brought here by immigrants eager to build and grow into a comfort-obsessed, passive mass searching for a hassle-free existence. What if everyone in America was doing everything they could to avoid effort, and yet the secret of happiness was